And Mike Mayock held like an exclusive interview with PSL, like season ticket holders for the stadium. And he hit on a few things. And ultimately, there's 4 different topics that I wanted to hit on. I'm going to play these clips, and we're going to chat about it. So first is the speed that we're adding to this team. And that's something that we all know. We all know we got faster, obviously, Henry Ruggs, but it's all across the board. On defense, the playmakers we're adding guys like Corey Littleton, adding, just the youth is making our team faster. So I'm going to play this clip about him talking about the speed on this team.
I think you're going to see a quicker defense. I think you're going to see a faster defense. It remains to be seen how much better we are or we aren't. But at the end of the day, we got to prove it on the field. What I can tell you is when I stand there on the practice field, I can feel the speed on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and it's better than it was last year. And quite frankly, it needed to be.
Yeah, so that's promising to hear because that was a very distinct statement. It's not saying, we try to get faster, we try to add some speed. No, it's I feel the speed. I feel the difference on both sides of the ball, and it needed to get better. And we knew that. We needed to be able to stretch the field. We needed to be able to open things up, and I think that's just going to elevate every single other player. The way that Josh Jacobs is able to excel with 8 guys in the box, the way that Hunter Renfrow was able to eat up the middle of the field with nobody to stretch the field is amazing. The same way with Darren Waller. I mean, he turned into a star wide receiver basically because he was the only guy that was able to almost run every route and excel all 16 games. So adding that speed, adding elements like Brian Edwards having that deadly catch down the sideline, adding guys like Henry Ruggs that you pretty much have to put a safety over the top of him 100% of the time. Adding things like that are just going to make those guys even better. Josh Jacobs, even better. Hunter Renfrow, even better. The offensive line is going to have an easier job. Alec Ingold's going to have an easier job. You're not going to have the box stacked all the time. Adding that speed is going to help. And on defense, we needed that the most on defense, especially at linebacker. We talked about it with Eddie Borsili just a little bit ago. But adding that speed, really, that's what matches us. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to shy away from it. We're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs. And I get it, we added a run-stuffing linebacker that apparently doesn't match up with the Chiefs, but I don't freaking care. We added enough talent on this defense to literally match up with anybody at this point. We have the physical corners. We have the hard-hitting safety. We have the ball hawk safety. We have guys like Eric Harris that can come in here. We have Jeff Heath. We have rotational guys. We have our defensive line it's there. It's really close. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to be a top 10 defensive line, but I expect them to take another step forward, and I think they can be close. I expect Max Crosby putting on weight. Cleveland Farrell looks like a different guy adding like 13 pounds. Everything that's going on. Shout out to Silver and Black today in the chat. I appreciate the donation. Big inspiration right there. Great show. Scott does a great job over there setting the tone. I will say, but just adding that speed alone is what's going to separate this team from 2019 to 2020. We started seeing the defense kind of, getting their feet wet. They're figuring things out. The offense was having to make so many adjustments, but losing Tyrell Williams was a guy that could have been taking the top off the defenses, but he had plantar fasciitis in both feet. We didn't even realize that, right? He's trying to play through that. Hunter Renfrow, obviously not a speedster, and we kind of just had this revolving door of like I guess it'd be like, I don't know, our Z just not even, we didn't have like a Z. We just had like this rotating guy playing opposite of Tyrell Williams, and that just took away the biggest element of John Gruden's offense, of his scheme. You don't give him that player like the Henry Ruggs, what are we going to do? So now we're going to see, even like Zay Jones. Zay Jones comes out and says that he lost weight to get faster. His focus was quickness and speed. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Next topic I want to hit on from this, and that's going to be why we chose Ruggs over other wide receivers in this draft. Obviously, it's a big topic that's been going throughout the offseason. It's good to hear Mike explain it.
Most people had at the top of their wide receiver board 3 guys, right? And it was Ruggs, it was Judy, and it was the kid from Oklahoma, okay? And we worked with all 3 of those guys. CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma, of course. We worked all those guys out. We spent time with them. We were on Zoom calls with them. We were at the combine. We watched every tape. I had school visits to Alabama. I had Oklahoma. I was at their pro day. I was at their Oklahoma State game. So we were tracking all those guys. And what I would tell you is that all three kids were special, but they were also distinct in style. I thought it was really interesting. CeeDee Lamb, I thought, was outstanding with the ball in his hands. Really good all-around athlete. Jerry Jeudy was probably the best route runner in the draft. Ruggs was the one that was the most intriguing guy to unwrap, to learn more about. It was a lot easier to figure out Jeudy and to figure out Lamb. I spent some time at Alabama. I've known Nick Saban for a lot of years. And the more we dug into this kid and who he was, the more we liked him. And to give you an example, when Nick Saban tells you that a kid is the hardest working kid on that football team and comes to every practice like he's a walk-on, that means something to me. And when his play demeanor backs that up, the fact that he was a gunner and a jammer on special teams, he would block in the run game. When you go through all his targets in his entire career at Alabama, his hands were really good. You have this thing in your mind about a vertical sprint speed guy. I think his hands were underrated. So do we need to get more out of him as far as learning how to run routes and releases off it? Yeah, of course we do. But when you talk about stretching the field both vertically and horizontally, Ruggs can do it. He's working his tail off. Edgar Bennett, our wide receivers coach, is doing a great job. I think when you throw in Ryan Edwards, you've got two hard-working kids. And go back to the earlier conversation, JT, two kids that love ball, passion for the game. They're working their tails off. And then I would add that not enough people are talking about Zay Jones and Nelson Aguilar, who are having outstanding camps. So I think when you throw them all together and put our guy Hunter Renfrow into the mix, we're pretty excited about our wide receiver core.
That gets me pretty fired up, not going to lie. That was a good roundup of why we chose Ruggs over the rest. And it's one of those things where you got to look at it. And that's why I think you kind of had this draft crush on him from the beginning is you look at CeeDee, and he was a great wide receiver, arguably the best. All three of them could have arguably been the best coming out in the draft this year. But looking at what we needed, and it seems like it's been a theme. We've had this conversation over and over again. It's almost like a debate. How you draft? Do you draft need, or do you draft best player available? And the analytical and the critical people seem to, side with the draft the best player available, right? And I think that's how Mike Mayock sees it. I think he goes out and he finds the best players available. But the way we make our selections and the way we're going to improve our football team the most is to draft a little bit more while looking at best players available, obviously, but drafting a little bit more by need. And a huge need was Henry Ruggs, but he also fits the bill for everything else. And there's a reason, right? There's things that we don't see, guys. We don't sit through these private conversations. We don't get to dig into these wide receivers. We see highlight tapes. We see a couple press conferences, but that's not when they're themselves. If you're judging a player off what they're saying at the press conference, then you're not getting the true player. You're not getting the true work ethic, or you're not getting the true drive out of that player. They could either be not comfortable in situations like national media, things like that, or they could just be able to put on a show. You're not going to know who they are sitting down one-on-one. If you sit down one-on-one with John Gruden and Mike Mayock, I can guarantee you they're going to pull out the true personality out of you. They're going to figure out everything about you, and they're going to be able to make the best choice possible. So picking Henry Ruggs, this is why. Hey, look, they're not perfect. Not every front office is perfect. We're not going to nail every single pick. I still like every single pick. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. I'm glad we picked these guys. They're not going to nail every single pick, but I absolutely stand behind our selection of Henry Ruggs just because I trust them the most. That was their most important pick in this draft. And obviously they had all three at their disposal at that first selection in the first round. So I'm all on board with Ruggs. Shout out to Lucille in the chat. Lucille, coming through. Here's 100 more shows. I'm telling you. I'm so pumped up right now. Episode 100. Episode freaking 100. I'm so pumped on it. But I got two more quotes here. I got 2 more quotes. Lucille, I'm going to be looking for your shirt. I got a Lucille shirt coming in soon. I'm going to be showing you guys. I'm going to be dropping a link. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, too. She might be doing some YouTube stuff here pretty soon. We'll talk more in the future. But the next topic, and that's Lynn Bowden. Lynn Bowden, there's been some stir that he's not 100% like picking everything up, that he's struggling a little bit with pass blocking, things like that. And that's expected. I've been saying this from the get-go. Lynn Bowden's coming in here with probably this steepest learning curve of any rookie, just because of the position changes and just because of the position that he's going to be playing in John Gruden's offense, kind of like all around. Here, and he's playing some wildcat. He's listed as a running back. He's going to be playing slot. Like, he's learning 3 different positions in a very complex offense. So I can understand the struggles. But here's a clip of what Mike Mayock has to say about Lynn Bowden.
Yeah, the background here for fans to understand is that he played at University of Kentucky in the SEC, best conference in the country. His junior year, he was a slot receiver and one of the best slot receivers in the SEC. Caught over 60 passes, 1,000 yards. He was dynamic in the slot. Comes back his senior year, and the quarterback gets hurt. I think it was week 1, and they move him from slot to quarterback. Okay, he's also the best punt returner in that league. And they move him to quarterback. And he rushes for 1,500 yards at quarterback. And sure, a lot of it's zone read, but he's running quarterback counter, quarterback power, which are traditional I-formation plays for a tailback. So, he was one of the guys we wanted to meet at the Combine. And John loves to get – you remember at the Combine, you only get 15 minutes. You get 60 players, 15 minutes apiece typically. And what can you get done in 15 minutes to learn more about a kid? So John does a great job with the coaching staff, kind of putting some stuff up on the board, teaching them our verbiage, going to something else, showing video, and then at the end, for the last 5 minutes, kind of coming back to what we taught them about our verbiage and our plays, and see if they can replicate the conversation we had 10 minutes earlier in our verbiage. And to our surprise, Bowden sat there and spat it out, just spat it all right back out at us. And John just started laughing. John was going nuts. And that was kind of cool. That was the beginning of us trying to kind of peel away the layers of this Bowden cat. Now, like I've said with all the rookies, let's take a step back and understand what he's trying to do. Even though he's coming from the SEC and he's got heavy production at two positions, we're asking him to play a completely different position. We're putting a lot on his plate. He's got running back plays. He's got punt return. We're going to ask him to catch the ball. So we're asking an awful lot of this young man. And anytime you ask a college player to play a different position, it's called a projection. And you got to give him some time. And that's the way I feel about Lynn. Lynn's come in. He's done everything we asked, but we just got to continue to give him the time to learn to convert to a running back primarily. And he's never been that before.
And there's nothing wrong with that, what we're doing. I mean, I know we're expecting a lot out of him. I still, don't let me shoot this down to think that he's not going to be a great player this year. I still think he's going to do great things. I still think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to have a great role. I think he's going to make big plays. You're going to see him in the slot. You're going to see him playing running back. You might see him taking snaps out of shotgun and wildcat. You might see him doing a lot of things. But it's just going to take a while for him to really develop that role. And I think that's why we, of course, are going to be keeping Jalen Richard. And I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe tried to get on a fourth running back like Theo Riddick to be that passing down guy to come in and back up and do great things. So Lynn Bowden, I see a lot of potential there. I do. It's just he has a very, very steep learning curve. This isn't normal. There's not very many players that come into the league like a Lynn Bowden Jr. and are going to be able to turn into Taysom Hill their rookie year. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to work. I want to give a shout out to Stage Door Casino in the chat. I've been looking for you, John, all night. I've plugged Stage Door Casino a lot tonight, but I'm going to give them one more plug here towards the end of the show. And make sure you guys are paying attention during game day weekends. Friday night, Saturday night, we're doing Nation Nights. And I'm going to give you a little sneak peek here. I'm going to give you a little insider information, a little tip. When you go to Stage Door Casino, when you go there, I don't care if it's your first time or your 50th time, your 100th time, if you know everybody there, I don't care. When you go there, and you haven't done this, you got to make sure you do it. When you go to Stage Door Casino and you walk through them sliding doors, you got to walk through there and you just got to give them a Raiders as you walk through the door. Give them that. Give them that as you walk in the door. Sit down. John or somebody's going to be hitting you with a drink. Go to Stage Door Casino. Take my advice and do that. Nation Nights, every Friday night and Saturday night on game day. Nation Nights. I get a little fired up. I get all fired up here. So, Stage Door Casino has a lot of things going on. You're a busy man, John. I forgive you. I'm still holding it down here for you, buddy. The last topic I want to hit on here from Mike Mayock. And he was talking about crowd noise. And we've seen some things kind of circulate a little bit. I think I posted a video on my Twitter of the fake crowd noise. And here's an explanation kind of like what we can expect.
I was really excited to get in their stadium last Friday and get a feel. And the NFL is going to provide a soundtrack that all teams are going to play in their stadiums. So there's going to be a certain bench, and it's going to be kind of a compilation of what the last 4 years sounded like in the black hole. And they're not going to allow it to get too high, and they're probably not going to allow an offense or defense to get an advantage. But we're going to have a baseline audio track played throughout the game that sounds like fans. So last Friday when we went out for our practice at the stadium, even though it was dead empty, once they started playing that soundtrack, and again, JT, when the game starts, the players lock in, right? They lock in, and it sounded like, and it felt like an NFL game. And sure, you're not going to have the emotional boost being at home for a big play and people going nuts and, but we're going to have to generate that on our own. And I look at we've got a young football team. We're one of the younger teams in the league, and I would think they're going to be able to do that. Let's generate some energy on our own. Is it going to be the same without fans? No. But I think our play and our execution should be every bit as good, every bit as energetic. And I think we owe it to all these suite holders, all these fans, all these people that believe in us year one in Vegas. We want to show you who we are, and we want to get out there and compete our tails off and earn your trust and respect.
100%. I love the way you ended that. And talking about the fake crowd noise, I hit on this a couple weeks ago. I forget if it was even on my show or if I was doing an interview. I talk way too much Raiders football to even remember where it's going. But having these young guys like the Damon Arnett's, the Jonathan Abrams, right? You get Max Crosby out there with his swagger. You see some of these guys out there that can jaw and get fired up, make big plays, celebrate, have a good time, kind of just get the vibe going. You know what I'm saying? You make a big play and you feel good about it. You're strutting your stuff. Like, we have some of those guys finally, and I feel like we have it for a long time. We don't got, Gary on Conley out there just like dragging his shoulders along. You know what I mean? Daryl Worley, I felt like was a great player for us, but even he wasn't real energetic after big plays. Bringing in the guys that we do, missing Jonathan Abram last year, obviously. Bringing in the guys that we do, I feel like we have that. Okay, cool. We got the common, in the background, like there's someone there. But after big plays, we have the guys that can get the rest of the team fired up after that big play. Like, we can build momentum, and we have to be able to do that. Again, we're competing with the Kansas City Chiefs at this point. We're not here. We're not playing for a playoff game. We're not here to make the playoffs. We're playing to be the best in our division and make a run at the Super Bowl. And to do that right now, that is to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And they are able to do that. They're able to create momentum. They do it at away games when the crowd is getting shut down, right? When the crowd is quiet. They're generating their own momentum and their own energy and are able to flip the script off of big plays. And that's what we got to be able to do. We got to be able to get a turnover and not just get an interception and give the ball back to the offense. No, we're not just getting an interception just to, here you go, Derek, go do your thing. No, we're getting that interception and we're fired up. And we're like, let's go freaking punch that sucker in. Let's get fired up. Let's have a good time. Let's get the team, feeling themselves a little bit. And let's make some plays the rest of the game. You know what I mean? We're shifting momentum, and I think we finally have those players. So the fake crowd noise, obviously, it's not going to be the same. We get that. But we're not the only team dealing with it. We're not. I'm a little frustrated because my one opinion and my one complaint that I want to say now is if there's the majority of the teams are shutting down, like ourselves, are shutting down any fans coming in. Like we're 0%, 0 fans, nothing. Not even the owner's going to be there. Why would the NFL allow some teams to be like 20% capacity or 15% or 30% or whatever they're doing? How come they can have 20,000 fans in the stadium and we're making the choice, you know, the safe choice and just not taking any chances of risking the season? How come other teams get to? I feel like I get it. I'm a Raiders fan, biased Raiders fan, but I think it's time the NFL levels the playing field and takes away fans out of all stadiums just to level the playing field whenever we travel. How come they get the home field advantage and we don't? Because 20,000 fans is still going to be a little – the noise is going to be there. There's going to be momentum. It's going to be a lot more than what we get because we're not going to get we'll get music, but the crowd's not going to get louder. So that's where I sit. That's going to be it. That's it for me tonight. That's all I got. Shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys rocking with me because this is episode 100, baby. 100, man. 100 episodes, 100 more, 200 more, 300 more. We're going to keep this thing going.